Hey everybody, it's Spence here from Constructive Criticism and Limited Time Only, two podcasts about getting better at Magic the Gathering. I'm recording from a different place today, but it's all good. We're still going to do the video just like every week. This is Wednesday Night Warrior, and this is part 9 of our How to Improve at Magic series. And today we're going to talk about something pretty simple, and that's going back to basics. So, not the Magic card, but actually going back and taking what you've learned and reapplying it and trying to improve again. So, going back to basics is we've talked about some kind of bigger off the wall stuff, learning to play the best decks, playing more, playing in the right events, doing your research, being okay with losing, like these concepts, right? That you can apply and it will help you get better at Magic faster. What we want to do is talk about going back now that we've learned those things and apply the basic strategy to Magic again, now that we've improved a little bit, and see if we learn something different or new. When you go back and you try and dig as deep as we can and get much better at the basics of Magic, we often find out that we're not as good at Magic as we thought we were. We actually will see that as we improve, we see that we're making more mistakes, and when we see that we're making more mistakes, we learn, maybe I've been doing this wrong. Maybe I have something to learn here that you didn't know you had to learn until you got a little bit better to begin with. And that's really cool, actually. I think I might have said this on another video, but I often say that you don't realize how bad at Magic you are until you get better at it. Because you see more opportunities to learn and to improve. And it makes you realize, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. And I often joke that I'm not even jokes. I actually really believe it, that I'm terrible at Magic. Just comparatively to how good somebody could be at Magic, the John Finkel, Paulo Vitor Damarosa level, I'm just not that good. And but there are things that I can do and steps that I can take to get to that level. And this is one of them. And finding ways to improve and have it be a constant in your life and in Magic, kind of like I mentioned a little bit earlier, is just. When you look for ways to improve and you put yourself in those situations and go back to where you started, it's great. It just brings so much more to the game for you. When I watch streams and I look at Owen Turnwell playing Magic, I learn a lot. In basic things, there was a play at one of the Pro Tours where he was playing Black-White, and he was playing Black-White was the deck that he and Huey played over Mono Black Devotion. And he played a Sin Collector, and he responded to his Sin Collector's trigger by activating his Underworld connections. That way, he had as much information. Once he knew that his Sin Collector resolved, he then decided to activate Underworld connections to know how all of his information for his cards before selecting what card he wanted to take out of his opponent's hand, which is amazing. That's really cool and something that I would never have thought to do. I told the story about playing against Shahar Shenhar at a GP and him remembering exactly where in his deck his Aetherling is. When you master something and you can go back and learn it again and again, you've gotten good at, hopefully at some of the basics in Magic. So now it's time to go back and apply those things that you've learned and relearn again. And that's how you become a master at something, right? You learn new concepts and then you go back and you master the old ones. This can include a lot of different things. When you look at things that you could improve at, you could improve at mulliganing. Make sure that you're making the right mulligan decisions. There's a game, I don't know who invented it, but the A-Team used to do it all the time on their podcast when they were still around, where Jay Bush would grab a deck of cards and he would draw 7, and he would look at them, he would talk to his co-host, and he would say sneak, keep, or ditch. Sneak being snap keep, keeping I guess I'll keep it, and ditch being throw that away, mulligan the hand. And when we used to have PTQs, my friends and I used to do this all the time. We would drive and we would play that game with all of our decks for 30 minutes. Just talk about mulligan decisions, game ones. Talk about sideboarding games, and if we keep those hands, you really practice the basics of just deciding what hands are keeps and what hands are mulligans. And really mastering that concept of Magic. Attacking. There's a lot of players that pigeonhole themselves into different strategies. They say I'm a control player, or I'm a mid-range player, or I'm an aggro player, and they don't maximize the amount of Magic that they can learn by playing different decks. If you're one of those players, I would absolutely recommend go try an aggro deck, go try an aggressive mid-range deck, and learn how to attack again. Make sure that you know what it feels like from that other side in making those attacks and making those decisions, because those decisions are actually really hard. Combat is hard in Magic. And if you're not attacking enough, you might not recognize opportunities that you have playing other decks that maybe you're not attacking with. But if you go back and relearn how to attack and make sure that you're making the right attacks in the right combat situations, the same thing is true for blocking. Put yourself in situations where you can block. You're not going to put yourself in a situation to block when you don't have any creatures in your deck. So go out there and learn those basics of Magic and learn how to attack and block. One of the other things you want to learn is sequencing. When are you playing your lands and when are you playing your spells? It's so important against different strategies, like Blue, White, Flash, and Standard right now. You beat that deck by sequencing correctly. So making sure that you're learning how to sequence and relearning, what to do. When you're very beginning at getting better at Magic, everybody tells you, save your spells to the last possible second. That's not always true. When you play against a deck like Blue, White, Flash, sometimes you have to, switch things around. Make sure that you're doing things in the right order. Make sure that you have to bait them. You have to do different things to try and get your sequencing in the correct order. And, Tireless Tracker is a great example. Sometimes you might think of playing your land before your spells or after your spells or during your second main phase. And, Tireless Tracker throws that out of whack. Make sure that you're going in and learning the things that you need to learn and putting yourself in as many opportunities as possible to do that and get to those points in Magic. And then sideboarding. Talk about sideboarding with your friends. It's so important. You play 2/3 of the games, unless you're really good, then you only play 50%. If you're amazing, sideboarded. So sideboarding is really important. Make sure you're learning how to sideboard and sideboard correctly and practice that. Do what you need to do to be the best at sideboarding you can be before and during an event. It's so important to just, once you've learned things, apply what you've learned, go back and do them. Do those things. Make sure that you're learning correct. Make sure that you're applying what you've learned and see where else you have room to improve. Because I guarantee you, if you're not John Finkel, you're not Paulo, even they're going to tell you they have room to improve. So you should do the same thing. Go back and take this opportunity to improve at Magic. That's it for this week. Let me know what you think. How are you going to go back to the basics of Magic and apply those things and really hone your skills that are right there to be honed? You already know that these are things that you need to be good at in Magic in order to win matches of Magic. So why not be better at them than you already are? Let me know what you think, and thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget that you can check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/ccmtg. You can watch these videos every week on puremtgo.com, brought to you by MTGO Traders. And you can also go to patreon.com/ccmtg to see more awesome content and support the podcast. Don't forget you can check out the podcast on constructivecriticism.com. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you guys all next week.